Dupe the creature's growl, then drop the volume, muffle it in playback, and splice it in right before the busting of the door. Then take a beat before the scream.
How much?
2 seconds ought to do it.
Coming up.
Who the hell is that? We're on the clock.
I'll be 5 minutes anyway.
Okay.
Are you George E. Heim?
What's that to you?
I'm looking for him.
Can't you see I'm busy? Did you see the name outside the door?
Nobody is named Laszlo T. Gerard. And by the way, that rug is fooling no one.
And I'm supposed to care. What do you want?
My name's Ned West, and you don't know it yet, but you are going to want to talk to me.
Talk fast. I only have 6 days to make this picture, and tomorrow is day 6.
How'd you like to work for a big studio again and have a budget and a schedule that lets you eat 3 squares and sleep at night?
How'd you like to go back to the nut house? By now they must have noticed that you're missing.
I'm not crazy. You could work for Global.
Global gave me the boot 4 years ago.
I know that. After Val Lenay retired, none of your pictures ever made a dime.
Together, though, we made a lot of money. You'd think they'd give that some consideration. Quit joking anyway. I have no friends at Global.
Not now, but you're about to. Global's being sold. I pitched the new guys on a deal that goes through when the sale is finalized.
I'm listening.
So, you and Val were gold dust twins during the war. As bankable as any star-director combo in the business.
That was when she was the girl everybody wanted to come home to. GIs ogled Rita Hayworth, but they wished their wives could be like Val Lenay, everybody's sweetheart. Now she's poisoned.
Exactly.
Everybody thinks she's some kind of black widow, that she killed her husbands, 3 of them. The first one killed himself. The second one just disappeared. For all we really know, he could be living in Ohio with a different woman now. Nobody cared enough to check. And Michael May, she never even married him. The rumor was she killed him and then made it look like suicide.
But no one's ever proved she did it.
It doesn't matter. Fans have turned on her. They've all made up their minds. No one will ever think she's innocent. She could never play a sweetheart part again.
You know, I've always heard that you were smart, but you're just not smelling the bacon. The deal is Val Lenay, the tainted woman. Give the audience what they expect. Let her play a femme fatale. Is she really a murderer or just a victim of rumor? Keep the audience on the hook. I guarantee you that they'll eat it up.
Well, maybe they would. It is ingenious. But Val would never be a part of it. She's finished with the business. Had enough.
She's already said she'd do it. But only if you direct.
I don't believe it.
If I get the 3 of us together, will you believe it then?
Yes, if I hear the words from her in person. What's the story?
Ah, that's the beauty part. It's her life. I'll change the situation, dress it up, protect the living and the dead, but she'll play a part that people think she's lived. Can't you see it? Everyone who ever wondered if she did it buys a ticket.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
I'll get us all together and you'll see.
I can run that edit by you now.
Thanks, John. Good luck. I'm not holding my breath.
Oh,
Yes?
I'm sorry. I just didn't think you'd answer your own door.
Why not? It's mine.
Well, this is Bel Air. Most people have help.
I know, right? I had help before, but lately I've had to cut back a bit.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean...
No, it's okay. It's not a secret that I haven't worked in years.
That's what I came to talk to you about.
I don't think I know you.
I'm Ned West. I have a message for you from George Heim.
I don't think that's very likely. George hasn't been in touch in years.
He has a reason now he didn't have before.
He could have come himself.
He could have, but would he, when he could send me instead?
Maybe you do know George. Okay, what's the message?
I am, in a way. What would you give to work with George again?
Come on, that isn't funny.
It can happen. George and I have got a plan. You want to hear it?
Well, I need a laugh. Come in. This I gotta hear. Tell me about it. I suppose you're in the picture business.
I'm a writer, and I have a project. I want to write a picture for you.
Why?
It's not only for you, it's about you.
Why would you do that?
Your story's great.
Don't you think it's all been done before?
In real life, yes. But think of it up on the screen. Your fans would flock back to the theaters.
They'd come to boo and throw things at the screen.
Exactly. After they paid to get in.
You don't know my story. No one does. The public has been sold a pack of lies.
So that's part of the story. You can tell me what happened, what went on behind the scenes. I plan to change the story just enough so we can call it fiction. Everyone who sees it, though, will read between the lines.
People made their minds up years ago that I'm a murderer. How do you plan to deal with that? They won't sit still for Val Lenay, the Sunshine Girl, you know.
That isn't what I have in mind.
You're not going to make me out a murderer.
Not exactly. Something more mysterious. I want to write it so you could be either. I want to leave it as an open question.
So, tell me, Mr. West, do you like fish? I don't mean for dinner. Follow me. I want to show you something about me. I like to come here when I need to think.
This tank, it's enormous and spectacular.
Some of it's the fish, but have you ever seen such lighting?
No, it dominates the room.
That's Max Kaufman's doing. Max was George's DOP. He can light anything. Why do you think I always look that good?
I thought it was the cheekbones.
They do help. But did you ever see a fish with cheekbones? These fellas still look great. And they all get along together in this tank. Do you know why? Each one is rare, and it's the only one like it in the tank. Now, if I put another one in, they'll attack each other. And that's why I don't miss the picture business.
I know you've had it rough.
You can't imagine. After Michael died the way he did, I was paralyzed, a basket case. For more than a year, I stayed in bed. They had to shelve the picture we were making. I couldn't work, and when finally I could, they wouldn't let me. And they owned my contract and wouldn't loan me out. It's hard to keep your head up when your boss, your friends, your fans all think you're a monster. I dropped out, and it's been 7 years, and nothing's changed.
I'm trying to do something about that.
What about you? Do you think I did it?
I'm not paid to think. I'm paid to write, and so far, I'm not even paid for that. I'll tell you what, though. We'll get paid for this, if we can make it work. The question is, do you have what it takes to make it work?
What is it that you think I couldn't do?
You've always played the good girl. Can you be convincing as a question mark? Someone who could be Either innocent or guilty? Can you play a monster of deception?
I'd be better than I ever was. In this town, you can get a contract if you look good sitting on a bar stool and you can say a line and not fall off. I can do more than that. I don't have to play myself or even have to be at all like who I'm playing. I can make you think I'm someone that I'm not. It's funny. People think that actors play a part as some kind of escape, to get away from being themselves, but they don't get it. Acting's what I do. It's when I'm most myself. I've had to do without it. I haven't worked in years. I hardly know who the hell is living in this mansion.
This could get you back to work again.
Who'd want me? I don't go to parties. I'm not seen. The studios forget you fast.
I've been talking to the heads at Global.
That's it. You can forget about it then. I'd never work for that man. After what he did, I wouldn't even say his name.
You mean Kurt King?
Or even listen to it.
Don't you ever read the papers? King is dead. He had a massive coronary.
Who'd have thought the bastard had a heart?
You didn't hear about his funeral?
Why should I? It's not like I was invited.
2,000 people showed up.
Give the people what they want. I'm sure that everyone just wanted to make sure that it was true. Kurt King is dead. I like the sound of that.
So, how'd you like to reinvent yourself? King is off the board. And there's a group of glorified accountants who are coming in to run things who have no idea what it takes to run a studio. So, I went in and told them what to do.
Come on. You're crazy. I'm out of the business, but even so, I would have heard it somewhere.
It hasn't happened yet, but it's about to.
How do you know that?
Let's say I know a guy who has a special interest.
Who are you supposed to be again?
The guy who's giving you a second chance. I've already met with the new heads. They think I have a very good idea.
God knows I'd love to do it. It's more fun to play a character with flaws. But do you think that it could work?
Dick Powell did it.
George is the only one I'd trust to do it. He was there for me when I got started, and he stayed with me all the way. He made me. I was just a kid who didn't know a thing. If not for him, there'd be no me.
That's why I got him. And he says he'll only do a project like this if you're on it.
You really worked it all out in advance. Is there anything you haven't figured out already?
Yes. What's your hat size?
What do you need that for?
You're going to play a walking question mark. You need some hats, and big ones. Lends an air of mystery.
You're going to want to hear every detail, aren't you?
Yes, I'll have to know it all. And you will have to relive it all again. You think you're up to that?
I'll have to be. There are things I still don't understand, but I'll tell you everything I know.
Just make really sure you want to do it. It's going to hit you very close to home.
I survived it once. Why not again?
Hey, Dan, remember when I said I might need a favor? Yeah. So, ask your brother about the scuttlebutt over at Global. It's about the new heads. I need names. And when's that deal go through? I need the date. You know me, I've always got an angle. I'm busy making something out of nothing. Isn't this a funny place to meet?
Oh, no. This was Michael's favorite place for us to go. The studio encouraged us to be seen out on the town together. We had a lot of good times here. You know, Michael wasn't always so depressed. He was a lot of fun, just sensitive, that's all. George could always handle him.
How did you and George first get together?
When I first got cast, my friends all said, "Watch out for Heim, he's got a reputation. He threatens everybody on the set. He badgers actresses and makes them cry. There's nothing he won't do to get results." But I never saw that. From the first day with me, he was sweetness and light.
Did he yell at anybody else?
Oh, sure. He was unpredictable. But he got results. And from me, too. He just played it differently with me.
Why do you suppose he changed for you?
I think he knew that wouldn't work with me. It wouldn't make me do a better job. That's really all he ever cared about.
People must have assumed you were involved.
There was always talk. You know, the other actresses had attitudes. I never let that bother me because I knew there was nothing going on with us. I just never thought of him that way. I was very happy with Hal Smith.
He was your second husband?
Yes.
Then, which one was Michael May?
He came a few years later. We were close. I was never married to Michael.
Well, you were in the press a lot during the war. Always together. What was that?
Oh, that was all made up by the studio. We were engaged, is how they put it. It was good PR. They kept our fans on edge for years about it. Our friends all knew that it wasn't going to happen.
So, who was husband number one?
A boy I married way too young. It didn't last. Hal Smith was a different story. More like what you hope for when you're really ready. I met him in the supermarket shopping. I was choosing melons, thumping them, sniffing them. I couldn't make a choice. I guess that I was in his way, you know. He just stood by patiently until I noticed him. I blushed. He was amused. I knew right away. That's what I wanted. Funny how that happens, right? I knew.
You were together how long?
Just 4 years. Everybody said it wouldn't last.
Why not?
Because he wasn't in the business. He wouldn't understand the life. That's what they say. I always thought that understanding me was more important. And he did.
So, what was it made him disappear?
Well, if I knew that. When I think back about it, and I do, there's not a day that I don't think about it. I keep trying to find some kind of sign I must have missed. But no, we were happy. I could feel it. We talked about the future, having children. I talked to other actresses about how to juggle children and career. I might not be around. He'd have to take on more to cover for me. He was fine with that. He said he couldn't wait to be a dad. Then when I was shooting Hearth and Home, another one with Heim, I got the flu or something. It was bad. I had to stay for 5 days in the hospital. I only recall 2. I was so out of it. I was still woozy when they took me home. And there was nothing there. Not him. And nothing that was his. You hear about the guy who goes out for a pack of cigarettes and never comes back? This was just like that. Except I never got to see him go. He never said a word, no note. Nobody saw him go, no friends, no family. I fell apart. I couldn't handle it.
When did the rumors start?
You know, I thought that we had friends, that I had friends. I found out otherwise. The things they said about us. It finally made me realize the truth. None of them could stand to see us happy. They got their wish. I hope they liked the show.
But somehow you got through it. How'd you manage?
George Heim was the only one who helped. He kept me on the job. He shot around me while I was in the hospital, and after Hal left, he kept me busy with reshoots. Although I don't see how I could have used them, I was only going through the motions. But the schedule, having to show up day after day, kept me from melting down. George acted like the rumors didn't matter. Eventually, I acted like it too.
I have to hand it to you. I don't know how you pulled it off. I got a call from the studio. They want me back.
I told you that the heads liked my idea.
Well, I'd like nothing better than to work with Val again. She can be better than she ever was. But only if we go about it in the right way.
Meaning what?
There's something we have to clear up first. Look, your idea is great. It's going to pack the people in, but that's not good enough. Once they get there, we have to deliver. They hate Val, sure. They're going there for blood. She may be innocent, she may be guilty. But I'm telling you at a time, there's only one way we can tell her story. We can't take a side. We have to leave it open all the way right to the end. The audience will make up its own mind. That way they can all get what they want. If you want to write that, I'll direct.
George, you read my mind. That's just the way I want to do it, as an open question.
Then we have a deal. Now look, I have to ask for something else.
Go right ahead.
I asked the studio for all my old production crew. They said that I could have them, except some of the people are committed to other projects later in the summer. If we can start in 3 weeks, I can have them all. That's not much time for you to write the script.
That's okay. I've already started. I need to pick Val's brain some more, and then I'll be around for rewrites while we shoot.
That's great. I think it's really going to happen.
And fast. No time to lose. In fact, what time is it?
It's almost 7:45.
So, where's Val?
She'll be a little late.
Oh, did she call?
No, but she's always late. That's how you get the maximum attention.
Did you teach her that?
No, she knew that from the start. I had to wait to meet her.
She says she learned everything from you.
Well, she ought to give herself more credit. I didn't make her. I just turned her loose. The first time I cast her, she was green. So green she couldn't walk across a room or hit her marks. You could see her thinking. She was just a mess. She came to me and said, "Please, Mr. Heim, I know I'm lousy. Can you help me out?" Even then, she had that knack. She saw the way things were. She didn't kid herself. I decided I'd take a chance. I said, "You know the scene. Do what you feel. We'll hold you up." I told the cameraman to follow what she did and readied cover shots to fill in if she froze. And you know what? She figured out a way. She worked like a dog to prep a scene, thought out all the possibilities. The moment that the camera rolled, she stopped thinking. She knew what to do and did it. I've never seen an actor with her instincts. I didn't make her. All I did was trust her.
Sure. But you're the one who took the chance.
Ones who give you everything you ask for, no offense, but they're a dime a dozen. With her, I had a feeling. I saw something, that she could give me more. Not what I asked for, but something better, something more. You couldn't think it up and then they give it. It's like they know you better than you do.
Well, before you, Global wasn't using her.
That's true, but that's because they didn't know how to light her right. Val has great warmth, but if you don't light her properly, it doesn't show up on the screen. I'd seen her first few parts, and I knew what to do. My DOP, Max Kaufman, was the best. The next picture they assigned me, I asked King if I could use her on it. "You don't want her," he said. "She doesn't register," meaning that she didn't come across on screen. When I insisted, he said, "You can try her, but if I don't think she's good, I'll have to replace her." There was always some blonde he'd made a promise to, so I knew what he had in mind. So I made sure I shot the test myself and had Max light it. We made Val look so good in that screen test, King didn't say a word about it. But he was always liable to recut a picture you brought him just because he could. So I crossed them up. I cut the picture in the camera, only made the shots I needed. There wasn't any extra coverage. He couldn't mess it up on purpose, so he had to live with it. And it went over so big, he never mentioned it again.
Did he interfere with you a lot?
At first, but later he left me alone. Nothing shuts them up like big box office.
You and Val had a great run.
6 pictures in a row, and every one a hit. The war was good for us. We gave the people what they wanted. Faith and reassurance that someday life could be the way it was before all hell broke loose.
Ah, here she is.
Hello, Ned. And who's this gentleman?
I think you've met before.
We have indeed. Hello, Mr. Heim. It's good to see you.
Miss Lenay, it's better to see you.
Well, that's out of the way. How are you, George?
I'm not as unforgettable as you. Last time I felt this good was 44.
Things were still good in 1944. I try not to think of 45. I didn't even know you were still working. I understand you're making horror now.
Yes, just keeping my hand in.
How'd you come up with Laszlo T. Gerard?
He used to clean my stable in Vienna.
You're sullying his name, you know.
Of course.
So, Ned here's going to rewrite Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and you're going to direct.
That ought to be right up my alley, huh?
And I get to play both at the same time. It's a hell of a reunion, don't you think?
Well, I think before we reconquer the world, we ought to start out with the proper wine. I direct you in most anything, you know that, but this idea can work if we all approach it the right way. I'm going to have to light you differently. Your hair will have to be much darker, too. Have you ever had it dark?
That's what it was at first, before I came out here.
Well then, let it just go back to normal.
We're really going to make a new start, then.
Just to work together, that's enough. I never thought that this would ever happen. So, propose a toast. Here's to Ned West.
To Ned. I call him Frankenstein. He's going to bring the corpses back to life. Good morning.
I was told to pick you up. I'm supposed to drive you someplace. Palmdale?
Oh, okay, sure. I'll tell you all about it on the way.
That's strange. I got a message from some guy at Global in PR to show up here this morning for research.
Welcome to the world of working with George Heim.
But why not just tell me himself?
He does everything this way. He's indirect. He'll act out on the set, but otherwise he much prefers to stay behind the scenes. George doesn't like to ruffle any feathers. He'd rather get someone to do it for him. He'd have some flunky call and leave a message. Sometimes he'd make a change and you would hear a rumor in the morning, and by night it had already happened. That's his way. It's okay. I got a message too. You need to know about my life, so we thought you ought to get the guided tour.
That sounds like fun. Okay, give me directions.
Get on Route 6, heading out of town.
There isn't much out here except for woods.
No, but the road will take us up to Palmdale. I grew up here on Route 6. See that line of pumps and the garage?
Next to the diner?
That's it. Don't blink or you'll miss it. It's just a little roadside place, but it was home for us. My dad ran the garage and Mom ran the diner. But she died when I was 10. And Dad remarried so we could keep it going and there'd be someone there to keep an eye on me. That was bad enough at first, but then my dad died 3 years later. And my stepmother got remarried right away. Oh, God, how I despised that awful woman. And her new husband was no help at all. I fought them tooth and nail until I went to high school up in Palmdale. That's when I met Bill White. He was my ticket out. As soon as I was legal, we got married.
Were there problems with the marriage right away?
Bill did his best, but he had no ambition. He could fix an engine, anything that burned gas, tractors, lawnmowers. He was a crackerjack. But that was all he needed. Give him a busted fan and he was happy. I knew that wasn't going to work for me. I wanted us to get out all the way to Hollywood. He wasn't interested, so finally I moved out on my own. I figured that he'd be okay with it. That's what he said. But then when I got signed and started to get parts, he realized I wasn't ever going to come back. Well, you know the story.
Did he ever give any sign that he was suicidal?
He wasn't what you'd call demonstrative. We didn't even fight about my leaving, but now I think he kept his feelings in.
Did anybody think you were to blame?
His family never liked me anyway. They all said they knew him, and he would never do that to himself unless somebody drove him to it. I don't think they knew him all that well, and it's for sure they didn't know me. None of them expressed a single word of sympathy to me. They were a lot more sure about it when my second husband disappeared. That made them think there was some kind of pattern.
But should we keep on until we get to Palmdale?
No. We can't go to Palmdale. People think they know me there. I'm no longer welcome since I became a so-called murderer. There are a lot of places I can't go.
Yes.
Are you the Ned West who's a writer?
I do my best. Sometimes they call it writing.
Is it true you wrote a script about the life of Val Lenay?
Is that your business?
I'm making it my business. Let me tell you, leave her alone. She's been punished enough. She is no murderer. I guess you think that you can make a buck telling her story.
I'm sure I could. It's very popular.
It's lies and innuendo. And she suffered so much for things she didn't do. It drove her out of the business. It's a waste. She has a talent like nobody else. What kind of animal would drag her name across a screen, repeat the lies, and make the woman live through all that pain again?
As for the kind of animal I am, opinions vary. Before you take this further, though, there's some things you should know. The script hasn't been finished. And not only is the woman not opposed to being dragged across the screen again, she's going to play herself.
And are you going to make her out to be some kind of monster?
If I do it right, this will be good for her. It will revive her in the business.
She deserves that. But how will you do it?
I'll try to tell her story just the way it happened.
Then you need to talk to me.
And who are you? You haven't told me yet.
My name is Kaufman. I work in pictures. Lighting.
Max Kaufman. George Heim told me about you. Val did too.
So you've already talked to them. That means you really need to talk to me.
And why is that? They've both told me a lot.
I'm sure they did. But I will tell you things they didn't tell you, and some things they won't.
I have to hand it to you. If you want to keep this secret, there's nobody who would ever think of looking for us here.
Too many people meet in bars. So let me say right out. Some things you need to know to understand what really happened, but some other things I don't want you to use. Can you promise me that you'll respect that?
And if you really help me understand, I'll keep your secrets. If I have a problem doing that, I promise I will tell you. I won't use anything you don't okay.
Thank you. You are not an animal. Okay, so, first of all, the story of how Val got sick while making Hearth and Home was completely manufactured by the studio, because they would have lost her. She was too valuable a property.
What do you mean the studio would have lost her?
She would have quit if she had known the truth. I had a friend in the PR department who knew about it. They had faked the medical records. They never told Val the truth. When she went in the hospital, they tested her and found out she was pregnant. They put her under and took care of it. The public didn't know about her marriage. It makes for better copy if you're single. So they had to make it go away. To this day, Val doesn't know what happened.
Your friend told you?
It bothered him a lot. But what could he do? He couldn't go against the studio and keep his job. So he told me. We were close at the time, and it was getting to him. And then everything got worse.
You mean about Val's husband leaving?
Yes, but not the way you think. Since George was in on it with King to cover up what happened, he went to my friend, had him write a letter to the husband telling him the truth, but saying Val knew all about it, that she wouldn't interrupt her life like that and put her whole career on hold. And he swallowed the story, so he left her. She tried to find him, but she never could.
Why would Heim do all that just to split them up?
Because he was in love with her. We could all see it. It was obvious the way he treated her. She never saw it. She couldn't see the way he looked at her. I don't think he realized it either. He couldn't admit it to himself, but he couldn't stand having a rival.
But why would your friend allow himself to be a part of that?
George knew that he was gay and threatened him. He didn't know about me or that we were together, so we were in a bind. I'm not proud of it. I knew the truth, but didn't say a word. That was the first time I was a coward.
There was another time?
Yes, 5 years later, after Michael May became a star, we were a couple, and I let him down. It's because of me he died that way.
Well, what do you mean? Were you the one who switched the bullets?
No, I was the one who made him want to do it. We had been together for a long time, hiding everything, of course. After all, he was the big he-man. And we had some problems, people do. He got it in his head I didn't love him, and he couldn't handle it. He got erratic. He would disappear for days and turn up in some dive with all the worst people, always out of it. They'd cover for him on set, shot around him when they could. They always kept around a double for his distance shots and flipped the shooting schedule. I got tired of it, broke it off with him. Then he got really bad. He didn't want to live. He found a way. But to drag Val into it like that...
Do you think she knew the gun was loaded?
If she had, she never would have fired it. Val loved him, but she wouldn't have done that. I think he made the switch and didn't tell her. Once he was dead, they had to tell a story, so they made it out that he and Val had split, and that's what drove him to it. That was bad enough. But then what really ruined her was leaking that there'd been a cover-up, that it wasn't really suicide. Then everybody thought she must have done it.
Why wasn't the case reopened then?
There wasn't any proof, just a mean rumor. But it was the kiss of death for her, in this town anyway. Appearances are all they care about. But listen, I don't think there was a cover-up.
How do you mean?
I think someone had it in for her and saw a perfect chance. She had no way to prove she didn't know. I could have helped. I knew the truth. A lot of it. Enough to take the weight from off her back and put it onto mine. Again, I didn't say a word. I was afraid.
I know you want to hear the story about what happened between me and Michael. We're going to see Michael, and I'll tell you.
Hey, why are we going out of town? I thought he's at that little cemetery downtown, the one that people thinks is secret.
That's what he wanted everyone to think. I don't want peacocks walking on my head, he used to say. They had a burial, but he's not there. We're going where he wanted to be.
So he had thought of it already.
He used to talk a lot about his death. He was obsessed with it. He used to say he'd never live past 40. I don't think he ever wanted to. He was so damaged. He was too sensitive for his own good.
You never came across like that on the screen.
No, that's movie magic for you. He was always strong, but somehow fragile underneath. He knew how to act with confidence, but when the camera stopped, he was a mess. He second-guessed himself so many ways. He was gay, and you can't be a star and be gay. But still, he was a star. The studio thought I was good for him. We looked right together, and the work was always natural. We liked each other enormously. Of course they played it up.
The columns always had you getting married.
Engaged, yes. That was all the studio's doing. He was such a heartthrob that we couldn't actually be married. Women liked me and didn't see me as a threat. But it was better business if they kept him free. They'd done the same thing with me. Never mentioned that I'd been married to Hal Smith at all. Until Michael died. And then it all came out. When people started spreading rumors, they didn't lift a finger to defend me. Well, here we are. We have to walk down to the rocks from here. This was his favorite place. Could you please get that box out of the back?
Sure. What's in the box?
I brought him flowers. They're hyacinth and cherry baby orchids.
Is it me, or do these smell like chocolate?
The orchids, Michael's favorite. He was always dieting to keep his weight in check. He said that when he got a craving for something sweet, he'd stop and smell the flowers. He was a dear friend and a lovely man. He'd sit out on that big rock and just stare off into the distance by the water. I'd come here with him. We called it our rock.
Did he grow up by the ocean?
Yes. He did a lot of sailing and he loved it. Once he got big, they put it in his contract that he couldn't do it anymore. It was too dangerous. Of course, when he was working, they had no such rule. He almost died when we made Whimsical. We were shooting up in Lone Pine, and the season turned all of a sudden. It was freezing, and we had this scene where Michael had to serenade me with the ukulele. We had ice in our mouths to keep our breath from photographing, and he got so sick. He got pneumonia, and we lost a month. That's when he made me promise. He had thought it out and made a plan. He said, "Look, Bunny, if I don't make it, or whenever I don't make it, promise me you'll have me burnt and bring my ashes right down to our rock so the wind can blow me out to sea." He didn't want the big show of a funeral, and he knew they'd have one anyway, the studio. They love that kind of photo op, and they got it with a solid gold casket or whatever. But we fooled them. The box went in the ground. He wasn't in it. So, here it is. The climbing's better barefoot. Leave your shoes. You okay? Need some help?
No, I'll make it, thanks. It's slippery.
Let's just sit for a while. It's quiet here. I guess I have to talk about it. You're entitled to my side of it, no matter what you've heard.
I heard what everybody heard. I don't put any stock in rumors, just so you know, especially in this town.
He kept saying how he didn't want to live, how he couldn't go on, how he felt things closing in on him with no way out. I didn't think he'd do it, but he scared me. And then on set, we had a scene that used a prop gun. It shot blanks. He picked it up and looked at it like it was made of gold. And he said, "I don't know if I could do it, but if I can't, then could you be a friend?" I didn't understand. I said, "What do you mean, a friend? What are you asking me?" "Could you, do it for me? End it. Let me out of all this. Let me go." I said, "Michael, I'm your friend. I am, you know that, but don't ask me that. You're the only one I'd trust to do it," he said. And he was desperate, in pain. I said, "I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't." He got very calm and said, "You're right. I can't put that on you. Forget I asked." We were doing that scene later when it happened.
When you first asked me if I thought you did it, I didn't know you well enough to say. But now I do. I don't see how you could have.
Well, thanks for that.
It isn't much. And I can't let it change the way I write the story.
That's all right. I understand. I agree the question should be open. I want to work again, and that's the best way to get me in demand again.
But somebody switched those bullets. Do you think that Michael did it, even after you said you couldn't help him? Would he do that to you?
I don't want to believe that. But he was in a lot of pain. He could have.
Is there someone else who could have done it?
Well, Michael ran in pretty awful company, especially the last few months. It could have been a lot of people, and it wouldn't have been hard to do. Nobody watched that prop table. You could have walked right in during lunch and done it in a minute. I never thought to check the gun. I should have. We were having problems. Couples do. But Michael wasn't strong. He got unstable. He decided that I didn't really love him, that I wanted out. He joked he'd kill himself and that would solve the problem.
Cut. Val, dear, please try not to sound so guilty. Just read it straight. We'll make you look suspicious. Max, a little deeper shadow, please. Let her a little more like Mr. Hyde. We'll plant the scene with the reaction shots. Let's shoot her speech again from the beginning. Ready, everybody? Good then. Action.
We were having problems. Couples do. But Michael wasn't strong. He got unstable. He decided that I didn't really love him, that I wanted out. He joked he'd kill himself, and that would solve the problem. Naturally, that only made it worse. We were working, making Deeper Scarlet. We were thrown together every day. Finally, I called it off, and we just did the work. But then he got erratic. He would disappear for days and turn up in some flophouse drunk. Suddenly, his suicide jokes didn't sound outlandish. He meant it. But he didn't have the nerve. He couldn't go through with it himself. He had to get someone else to do it for him. Why not use me? People would think I did it. I had the means. It looked like I had motive. It was a good way to get back at me. How was I to know the gun was loaded? If I knew, I never would have fired it.
And cut. Print that one. Thank you very much, everyone. Great work for the first day.
That's the cat. We'll go again right away.
What do you think, Ned? Did I read your lines the way that you envisioned them?
No. Better. Val, you were terrific. Are you coming back tonight to watch the rushes?
No, I'm going home to bed. It's draining playing someone like yourself in something like your life. I'm superstitious anyway. No rushes. You can tell me in the morning what you thought. And suddenly, one day, he wasn't there. Just when I needed him, he disappeared. It made me wonder if he ever loved me. Think that way long enough, you start to wonder if you ever loved him, too.
So now what do you think about the girl who used to be America's sweetheart?
George, it's uncanny. She's a different woman.
And this one could have polished off 3 lovers. You just keep those lines ambiguous. She's going to make us all a lot of money.
Ned West.
The Promise Keeper? This is Max. I've just read your rewrite of the ending. You promised me you'd tell the story straight.
That's the way I told it.
But this ending won't change any opinions about Val. Everyone will think she could have done it.
Well, she could have.
Do you think she did?
I don't think she did it, no.
Then why not make that clear? She's been in hell for 7 years. You said you'd make a picture that would give her life back. You promised me.
I said that it would give her career back. For her, that is her life. Now she can play more complex parts, unsympathetic ones. Actors all say those are better parts.
But she can never play an innocent.
Not anymore. But look, the war's been over for years already. The whole country's changed. We don't buy innocence. We've seen too much.
That may all be true. But you knew what I thought you were promising. You let me think that you'd give me what I want for her.
I suppose I did. Well, sorry, but if I have to choose between what you want and what I want, I mean, how long have you been living in this town again?
So this is all to make a buck. I thought you were going to help her.
And I am.
George Heim would always get somebody else to do his dirty work. It bothered me. But now I see, I tried to do the same. I thought I could get you to do my job. Why should you? You don't have a guilty conscience. I let her go through hell and blame herself for Michael's death and then lose her career because of all the lies that people said, and I could have stopped it. But I didn't. I shut up. Just because I was a coward. What I let her go through makes me sick. All right, Mr. West. It's time for me to take it on myself. I may not be anyone's idea of a hero, but I remember how to tell the truth.
Quiet, please. Scene 21. Take 3.
Val, let it run a bit, please. Okay, action.
You think you know a man, and then he goes and does something you never would have thought him capable of, and he never tells you why. So then, what can you say about him? Either he fooled you all the time you knew him, or you're so bad a judge of character you might as well give up and buy a dog.
Cut. That's the one, dear. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, lunch. Be back in place at 1 to shoot the funeral.
Miss Val, there's something that I need to tell you.
Oh, hello, Max. Sure. We'd better hurry, though. You know what happens when we're late.
I know. This is important, please. It has to be somewhere where no one else can hear us.
Okay. Let's duck in here. What's on your mind?
Excuse me. It's about your life, what happened and why. The things that you don't know about.
Max, what's the matter? Please. The way you look, you're scaring me.
I know, I'm sorry, but you have to know. When we were making Hearth and Home, and you got sick, they told you that you had the flu.
Okay, quiet, everybody. Now, let's just try to get this one line in, and then we can call it for the day.
I'm sorry, but it's getting to me more than I expected.
Should I change the line?
No, leave it like it is. I'll get it.
It's hard, I know. Try not to dwell on it. Relax. Let's put a tail slate on it. Action.
I thought we'd always be together.
Cut. Take a break, 5 minutes, keep your places.
I'm sorry, George, I can't get through this line.
Let's do a quick reaction shot instead. Val, you can have the line when we're in post.
Where are we? Why'd you want to meet me here?
Before we finish shooting, there's something that I want you to see. Right back through here.
I never knew there was a cemetery behind these buildings.
Not too many do. Okay, here we are. This is the one.
Howard Mumford, 1910 to 1945. So, who was Howard Mumford?
That was Michael's name before we changed it. When he passed, we wanted to do right by him, give his fans a statue, something nice and classy in his memory. Here is where he wanted us to put him, out of the way. It wasn't ostentatious.
Someone remembers him. Look at those orchids. Still fresh.
That's odd. I wonder who'd think of putting orchids on a stranger's grave. And I wanted you to come here because Michael meant a lot to me, and when he died, the most important years of my life died with him. At least that's what I always thought. Now, because of you, I have him back. I'm back on A-list pictures, and there's Val. We work so well together. Now it's only Michael that we'll never see again.
What's that?
The peacocks, they come here to walk around the stones. They sound like crying women mourning someone, don't you think?
It's haunting.
You know, they loved each other, Val and Michael.
I know the studio made up the stories.
I don't mean that. That was ridiculous. They were nothing like that, physical. As though that had a thing to do with love, all that paddling around, so messy. What they had was, it was like they had a club with just 2 members, and you couldn't join that club no matter what you did. They'd just look at each other, and you knew that they were talking, saying private things, and they would never let you learn the language. You stayed outside. But that's all over now. Time to shoot the big scene, everybody. Places. Val, you have your gun. Good. Keep your eyes on Michael. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hold it a minute. Something isn't right. Her face is wrong. She has to look much harder. Max, put every light you've got full on her face and stop the lens down all the way. She has to look like she could really do it. That's much better. Roll it.
Quiet, please. Scene 73. Take 1.
And action.
Forgive you? Darling, I'd much rather kill you. After what you did? Why shouldn't I?
Cut. Let's take it one more time. Val, dear.
I know. I'm having trouble with the line.
It's a betrayal. We've all been betrayed. What was the worst for you? Remember it, use it.
Thanks, George. I do remember it. I'll use it.
Okay, everybody, roll it.
Scene 73. Take 2.
And action.